difference. The number one is mindset. And we all think that, oh, well, that doesn't affect us, not me. Well, if you're the newbie and you think you're not the newbie, you've already tainted your skills. And there's things that people think, well, I don't need to learn that. It's kind of like not going to school and getting into the workforce and you've got a grade 2 education. It just that's not going to work very well. So mindset, which is attitude primarily, and what to trade and why to trade it and when to get out, that's also part of mindset. Instead of like, well, this thing's going to go forever and I'll just, make $1 zillion today. So there's reasons to get into something and reasons to not get into something. All those things are mindset, and they truly have affected humans in their success in trading.
So one of the things that comes to mind when you talk about mindset is confidence.
Yeah, that's totally true. Because what happens is if you don't know that this is a good trade, many people will get out of a trade that could make them a lot of money. Like actually this one right here that is showing on the screen. I know somebody that got out of it and kicked themselves later. Well, why did I get out of it? There wasn't a good reason to get out of it, but they were not confident with their trade. And so they said, well, I better get out now with a small profit, which is a good idea sometimes. But if you've tested who you are and how you trade with a set of tools that you know, then you're confident. You know this is a good trade and I can stay in for the big dollars. And that all comes with practice.
So one of the keys is practice, 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 and make sure that you're practicing the right skills and the right behaviors.
Absolutely. And you're testing against the same tool again and again. And being able to test it blind without knowing what the market's going to be. So being able to test on real data, random days where the computer says, hey, you want to see your skills? Here's a random day for you. Go at it. Where you don't get to see, oh, well, it's going to be an up day, and so I'll just go this way. And we do this kind of stuff sometimes is we cheat ourselves out of success by not doing true testing, true practice. And the only way to get really confident and skillful and prove it to yourself, which of course aids in confidence deeply, is to know that, yeah, I'm really good at this. I can take a blind day, completely random, run it like it's live, and see that I'm successful.
So this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do the live workshop in Mexico, in Cancun, was to be able to get everybody into a room together and to work on what are some of the issues that you want to cover during those sessions.
Well, there's two parts, and there are some smaller parts, but the primary parts are mindset first. That's the most important thing. And then the second one is upgrading their skills with the tools, because we're going to have some extra tools there for them to play with. But because it's intensive, it's focused, there's playtime afterwards. But the most important is getting your game on in a live market and then talking to other coaches and traders and seeing what they do. It really changes your perspective quite quickly. You start to see a pattern where if you're by yourself, just doing your own thing, you don't really see the pattern. It doesn't kick in. But when you start seeing again and again and again, wow, this guy over there is successful and he's doing what? And then you can, go for lunch with them or something afterwards and say, well, what exactly are you doing? And they'll tell you. That's one of the most powerful things about going to any kind of conference is what happens outside of the classroom time. The other, of course, is what happens in the classroom. But you'd be surprised what can happen. You'll meet somebody and you just click with them and they can be your trading partner, or you'll just get some tip from them that you wouldn't normally get, because if you're at home, you're just doing your thing and it's easy to be distracted at home.
Yeah, and I would say also that when you're at home and you're alone, you're not getting the support. And one of the things that's really key, and one of the reasons why organizations grow large and very successful, is because they have all these people, supporting each other in different roles and stoppable, and sort of like the mastermind that Napoleon Hill talks about. So we don't normally have that. And by getting together, we start to build that, which just makes everybody more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got four coaches in a room and not that many people in the room, like the coach to attendee ratio is like 1 to 5. It's not like school from way back when. And these are focused, make money people. You can actually go through it and say, well, I actually like this coach better because he suits my. Somehow it just rings true what he says. It goes in and it affects me in a positive way. So being in a room like that, you just there's nothing like this. You just can't uh, imagine what it's like until you experience it. It's like being on some other experience where it's like, man, they said it was going to be good, but I had no idea it was that good.
One of the issues that people have is sabotaging their success. Is that something that we're going to be taking a look at as well?
Oh yeah, deeply. That's again, that's in the mindset kind of zone. But we think we don't sabotage ourselves in a general way. We don't like to say bad stuff to ourselves normally. But what happens is, you don't get into a trade that was right there and is a good one. Well, why would you do that? Well, that's sabotaging yourself. Or getting out of a trade too early that's running. It's like, well, why did you do that? Well, I felt this and I thought that. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in our mind that's automatic. And that sabotage is part of that automatic stuff. Well, why would you do that? Well, in a rational person in a rational time, you think, we're all smart and doing everything properly, but we do dumb things from time to time. That's part of being human. You can't get rid of that. But what you can do is you can say, I need to do this. It's like rear view cameras in cars. Well, I should do a shoulder check and I should look back before I back up. Well, if you don't have that screen right in front of you and the training to do it, we might just, go back up over something and cause some damage somewhere. And we go, I should have, la la la. Well, that's the thing about self sabotage is, well, why didn't you? It makes no sense not to. Well, it does if you don't have the training, if you don't have the focus and said, no, no, this is important. And that's the grace and kindness to yourself and to others to say, oh yeah, I need to actually be skillful over here before something, bad happens. And with trading, it's, you lose money if you don't get the proper training. And we go, well, that's okay, I can lose that. Oh, well, I can lose that again. And oh, I can lose money again today. And after a while, there's not much left in the trading account that you set up. And you go, well, well, just stop it. Just get some proper training and be successful. And then you can quit your job. I know a few people who've quit their jobs in those last few months because they're good at trading. They don't need to have a boss. They're the boss. They're not sabotaging themselves. They're like moving forward in prosperity and excited about it.
How important is it to surround yourself with successful traders?
That's really important. It's kind of like we're all familiar with dating. If everybody keeps dating bad people and complaining about it, where's the progress? It's just not going to happen. It's just a complaining session. So if you're on your own and you're trading and you're not skillful at it, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing on some plan that's actually not all that well thought through. We think it's well thought through. It's like one of those things where they say, if you don't know who the newbie is in the room, it's you, and the others are going to take advantage of you. But when you're with successful people, they'll say things that just fall out of their mouth naturally, like, well, of course I wouldn't do that. Where if you're not familiar with that, you go, well, I hadn't really thought that through. And so a successful trader will give you tips intentionally and just in passing that say, hey, well, you should do this and not do that. Well, why would you get into that trade? It doesn't have this indicator. Or did you look at the market? How's the market doing? It's, well, I didn't know. What do you mean? And then it starts to tell you, the coaches will tell you, or successful traders will say, well, there's a low percentage of success if you do this, but there's a high success if you do this other thing. And it's like, oh, and then you start to uh, trade off of them. It's like every other skill. It really is. It's, if you like carpentry and your dad's a carpenter, you're going to learn a few things just because he's, well, why is he doing that? And you just osmotically pick it up. He doesn't have to even tell you everything. It's like, oh yeah, I saw my dad build benches and he used to do it this way, and it was, fun and art for him. But he would do this thing over here with this other thing, and it made it look a lot better. It's like any recipe for, like, cooking, trading, anything. It's all the same stuff. If you've got a good coach or a mentor or an example, you're going to do good things.
So now I want to talk a bit about government paid vacations.
Those are really the best. Excuse me. I think that whole industry of accountants, uh, you know, cropped up because people go, well, how can I save a few dollars? And it's one of those sweet things where if you're going to a conference, and my brother really is an expert in taxes and stuff, and he says he loves it. What he'll do is he knows he can uh, write off the whole trip because he's going to a conference, and he can write off in some cases half or more of what his wife expenses are for the trip also, because, well, you're going there to learn something which could produce an income in the future, which the government says, well, we're going to be able to tax that income, so we'll let you, with their blessing, depends on your government and jurisdictions and all that kind of stuff, we'll let you, with your blessings, go to that conference. Now, of course, they know that you're going to a vacation resort, beach, all inclusive with drinks and all that kind of stuff. They may know that. They don't care. They're looking at, well, you're going to make a lot of money in the future, and we want to be there for that. So it's really up to you to say, well, you're going to take from me on that side, but you're willing to give me on this side. Okay, I'm in. You do, of course, have to, check with your accountant to make sure everything's okay, because the rules on that are, just take a little bit of effort, and an expert will tell you right away, oh yeah, yeah, you can do that. So all of a sudden you've got a free trip.
I really love about the work that you do in programming is the fact that every time I think that, okay, there's really nothing we can do to improve it, you constantly come up with new and innovative ways of doing things. And of course, one of the more frustrating aspects of using charting software and then interactive brokers is looking at the software and then going into interactive brokers and actually placing the trade and everything else. And because that can take up time. So you came up with a solution for that, and I thought this would be a good time to talk about that a little bit more.
Sure. Because I trade, I mean, I built this software for myself and my family, and then you and we decided to expose it to more people, and so we made it a little bit better for others. But I was frustrated by how long it took to place an order for an option. So, for example, if we like a particular stock and we say, yeah, I'd really want to make some money off of this, that 10% in 10 minutes, you have to buy an option. Well, which option? Well, there's a whole bunch of them. Well, you have to go through and click it and say, have this, and click on that and click on that. And it really does take about 10 seconds, and it feels like eternity. And it's very frustrating kind of work rather than click and you're done. Now, my history is that I was writing video game software, a long time ago before the industry really got big. And I used to play video games, of course, and I was thinking, why is this not like a video game? Yes, it's money, but if, like, I see something on the screen, I like it, I should just be able to go click, bang, and something happens. So we did that with the live program. So all this contraption that you have to deal with is fine for investors. It's fine for people that have, like, you know 10 seconds to go do something, or half a minute to go do something. They're running a different game. You know what, there's some money here. If I can just get into that, boom, then I can take advantage of that and see some profit. And if it's taking too long and I'm focusing on all this mechanics, I'm not looking at the chart to say, well, did that change, is it still a good trade? So it becomes more graceful, more easy, when you've got, like, a simple button that says, hey, I want to go buy that. And so in the replay version, we have that button as well, where you say, well, I really like that thing, and I'd like to get into that trade. And so you can go click the buy, or you can go click the, for the call, or you want to make money going down, you can just click on it and you're done. In live, there's a little bit more setup, but once it's in there, it's similar to this, where you just click buy, and you can actually, there's a hotkey that you can use. So you don't even have to, move your mouse around. You just hit this one key, and because you've got your thing set up, you're in. And there's a lady that's blind, like she's visually impaired, like 90%. She uses the hotkey. So all these other people that are using IB are kind of thinking like, you can't do that. But she is. That complicated process is gone. It doesn't exist for us. It exists for everybody else, but for us, it's like click, boom, we're in. Oh, I don't like it anymore, or I want to get my profit out. Boom, we're out. It really is amazing. And it was built to be for speed and fun, but then it becomes about simplicity. You're focusing on the trade. I like this trade. There's no more stress about, oh, I have to get in, and what's the option table on this one, and oh, I gotta click on all these things, and there's my grid, and I gotta make sure it's the right week, and oh, is it in the money or out of the money, and what's the delta? It's like it'll drive you nuts, and it's okay if you have to do that once. But with this day trading, you're gonna do this, 2 times, 3 times in a day, more if you want. But you're gonna do this day in, day out because this is your business. Well, it should be simple. Well, that's what it is. It's very simple. And if it's good enough for a blind person to hit one keystroke and she's in a trade, I don't think you can actually even make it any easier.
Beautiful. Okay, so shall we talk about filters?
Sure.
And now, filters first, then discovery tools. That's a better way to go.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So, all right, Alan. In the early days of the software, uh, we had alerts. These little things that would pop up, and some noise that would be made. And in the last 3 or 4 months, you've been uh, working on something a little bit different that's way more effective. The alerts were very effective, but these just take it to an entirely new level. And you've called them filters. So what do they actually do?
Well, we used to have to go through a list of stocks, and even with these alerts, they weren't that sophisticated. We'd have to go through a list, something like this with a bunch of things on it, and say, oh, well, is this thing doing this, and is that thing doing that? And we'd actively have to scan through it and say, oh, well, let's go look at Google. And it's like, well, that's not really the thing. And oh, how about this one? No, that's not it. And we'd have all these other indicators on and say, well, it's outside the risk zone. And so then we'd make more columns and more lists. And that was necessary and useful, but it's a bit tedious. And so we found that some people actually would have to trade in a group environment where they'd say, okay, you're going to look for something with a good angle. And then you're going to go look at that stock and say, okay, well, the angle says it's a good number, but the trade is old. It was in the risk zone and blah, blah, blah. So you had to do all this thinking by yourself or in a group, which has its pluses and minuses. And it was like, there's got to be a better way, without having to make people into programmers, because there are tools out there where you get to type in, if XY25 is greater than Z15 and la la la, then blah blah blah, and then paint some tint over here, or something. And it was like, wow, this is kind of nutty, because you'd actually have to do it in a programming context, and you would actually usually have to hire a programmer, or you'd be at the mercy of someone else to make an indicator for you. And the problem is, of course, that this was just too complicated and sort of inaccessible for that reason. So we started with originally a small list of filter rules where it would say, if, and this is the more complicated view, if we said, I just want to know if, for example, the D percent, whatever that means, is between this and this, then I want to see a marker and or an alert show up over here. So you could be looking at one chart And it would tell you, by the way, there's this other one that fits all your simple or complex rules. And we started out with not very many things, but we added them. And this is actually a lot easier than it even looks. It looks a little messy because there's a lot of things on this particular one, but it's less complicated than using an Excel sheet. And you can get somebody to send you their filter rules, and all you have to do is paste it in. It's pretty amazing. So, for example, you've got some other list, and, and you say, well, and you get it from an email from somebody, and you say, great, I want to go take whatever your settings are and just smack it in there. And so there's a simple keystroke for doing that. And then all of a sudden, you're now following someone else's filter rules, and you didn't have to click on a dozen things. They just sent it to you, and you said, yeah, just throw it in there, and you do with one keystroke. And then all of a sudden you're following their style and you're learning from their style. And so, yeah, there's a few things, but there's like 6 descriptive, easy paced videos that go through all this. And of course, people on the forum can say, well, this is the filter rule I use and I really like it. So then it's just about your personality and does it work for you? So, for example, there's 2 different markers on this chart following different rules. And you say, well, the W, oh, that one, I like that because it told me to get in early on this thing. Well, when did I get out? Well, probably when it gets close to this RD line. So I would have made some money from here to here. And it told me, by the way, over here on this stock, there's something you might like. And so at that point, you're not doing all the work. The computer is, and you give it as much of the work as you want. So some people, and this is all about personality, and that's where people have noticed that this thing's very flexible and it's wrapped around how you want to do things. So you say, well, I don't want it to tell me all this stuff. I want it to just tell me a little bit, and then I'll go look at the stock. That's how some people run. Other people say, no, no, no. I'm not interested in the trade until it fits all of that. And if it fits all of that, then I'll go look at that stock and say, okay, yeah, that one's a good one, and I should go look at it. So, for example, this was happened earlier. There would be this one came on with some markers. Well, you can see it's a similar setup as the other one. It's like, hey, maybe there's something here. Now, coach will tell you, some experience will tell you that this wasn't as good a trade for other reasons, but at least it's like, yeah, thanks for telling me. I didn't like it, but thanks for telling me. What else is going to happen? So now we just sit here. People that started using this when it first came out, she would be cooking breakfast. She'd have the speakers turned up, and she would hear that particular sound because you can have sounds turned on, and she would go, hey, I'm going to go look at this trade. And if she liked it enough, she'd buy it, and she made money. I mean, this is really quite a whole different world. All of a sudden it's like, so you're going to tell me when there's a money opportunity and I can go do whatever I want, and then I just click, I'm in, and then I just click a few things and then I'm out. I made money. It doesn't feel realistic. Like even the 10% doesn't feel realistic. Well, it's not that much different than microwave ovens. If you would have talked to somebody, 50 years ago and says, no, I got this plastic box and with a glass front on it, I'm going to click on a couple things and then my coffee is going to be heated up. It's like, get out of here. That doesn't exist. But, when you've worked with it, you go, holy smokes. And this is why we've, improved the tool as we went along, is because it's like, if it could do this, that'd be really cool. That'd be awesome. So if you could actually heat my coffee just by, and I don't have to turn an oven on. I just do these few things and all of a sudden I've got something awesome and it doesn't exist. It's amazing. Yeah, I'd love that. So that's what we do.
Perfect. So the filter rules and the software combine to let us know when the types of trades we like to have show up are happening. And it doesn't matter if we're at our computer or not. We could be looking at another stock, missed it. I know that's happened to me lots of times where I've been following a stock that I know is going to be really good. and
Hmm.
3 other stocks were performing admirably, and I had no idea. So that's really cool. And the thing with the filters is, you talked a bit about rules, and we all have. The nice thing about rules is they can depend on your style. If you're a more conservative trader, if you're a more aggressive trader, uh, and if you have certain things that you really like to see in a trade, then rather than having to go around and look at different charts and look at different columns to make sure that those trades are in line with your rules, the filters can do all that for you. And that's the point of having a computer, right? Is to do all the heavy lifting. There's another tool that you've come out with that I don't believe is, shall we say, public uh, at this time. And those people that come to the workshop are going to be the first ones to really get a handle on this tool. And it's called the Discovery Tool. So, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. And this was again about, that's why it's available for people coming to the workshop. It's meant for serious people, meaning that, you know what, I don't want to have a day job. I want to enjoy my life, and I want to make a good income. And uh, I'm working with these filter rules. I'm working with the replay. I've listened to what the videos and the coaching and whatever it has to be, and I'm serious about this. So then it's like, well, how do we help them make their job easier? Much like, to buy in live is like click bang and you're in. It's made easier. The idea here is that, well, how are my rules doing versus like this particular stock? And you say, well, okay, let's go look at, for example, the watch list, because we just got a marker on the watch list. So here's the watch list, and I'm going to go click on the filter rules for that. And we say, okay, well, we know we got a signal here, but why didn't this set of filter rules fire up? And that's what the discovery tool is doing, is it's saying, well, your rule said that you wanted this number to be above 5, or at least 5, and it's not. That's what the yellow does. Whereas over here on this rule, I got no yellow. And that's why you're getting the markers. It's like, no, everything fits. Everything's working. So this is a good trade. Well, you can see that this is a good trade. And that's the difference. Is like, well, if I just took off this market thing like I do here, and this rule doesn't have it, then I would have had a signal. So now this trade is no good anymore from an entry point of view, because this one particular item isn't good anymore. It's an old trade in this meaning. But are you going to stay in it or not? Well, you can see it's hitting something. That's all about the coaching and the trading. And well, when do you get in and when do you get out? You could have made some good money here. This moved up from this number up to here. That was more than 10% in a matter of a few minutes. So it's about being more professional, more proficient, more profitable by saying, I want to really work with this stuff and find out, why didn't I get a marker here? One of the things that we give people is this filter rule tester. And we say, great, I want you to go run a day, mark up a chart with this or this or this, whichever filter rules I've got. I just want you to mark up this chart or all the charts. And then I'm going to go look at the markers. And then you may come through and you say, well, why didn't I on some chart, let me just hide these things. Why didn't I get a marker here, for example? Now, that's not a good thing. Well, why didn't I get a marker here? And so you can actually go to I'm going to stop the motion here of this. You can go to that point in time and say, well, fine, let's go back here to, that was 1040, and say, okay, great. Now I should have got, I'm going to back up a little more. I think I missed a really great trade because I should have got a marker here. Say, okay, great. Let's go look at the filter rules. So on the filter rules, I turn on the discovery tool and I says, well, it didn't match this, and it didn't match that, and it didn't match that. And this other one, it didn't match that. So do you really want those trades and you want to take out that filter rule. So now you're acting like the mechanic or an engineer or however you want to think of it, but you're really tinkering with it and you go, listen, I want to fine tune this stuff. I know I'm generally making money, but I want to fine tune and I want to grab these rules. And so since there's three filter rules running at the same time, you can actually say, oh, well, this is my whatever strategy, my short profit strategy, because I've looked at a bunch of this and it's like, hey, these things fire up at their short runs. So then I can say to myself, well, I'm going to have a short run filter rule strategy where it'll mark a D on the chart and make alerts for me. And I know that if I'm in the mood for it, I can go in there and grab maybe 5% in 2 minutes because it's got that setup going on. And other ones you can say, well, these are my home runs where, if these things fit, then I make a 30% profit in maybe an hour or two if, it all comes through. But you can design it the way that you want to trade. And then you're now teaching the computer to be your buddy doing the work for you and say, by the way, over here, there's a really great trade that fits your rules. And then it's simple. You just click on it and you have it in front of you. It's pretty phenomenal for the amount of work that's being tailored to you. So here, at some time on this day, it said, Tesla, here it is at 14:17, something came up on that. And so it could actually take you to that moment in time. And you can say, well, okay, that was a great trade and you called it. Oh, and here's another good trade and you called it. What's the difference? Oh, well, in this case, it didn't do this. And you can go talk to a coach and say, well, that was an old trade here. Well, here it was inside of it. It wasn't a breakout for the day, but here it was a breakout. So it's a higher probability of success for your 10%. You would have got your 10% right there in 5 minutes. That's where you're now being proficient with it. You're not just, well, I'll try this and I'll try that, which is kind of random seat of the pants. You're building a money machine and it's your money machine. So you don't have to share your filter rules after you've figured out what you want because they're for you. But you can also get other people's filter rules and try them out and go, I like that. And yeah, it's different than my trading style, but yeah, I'm happy to learn how to do that. And then you can talk to people and say, well, why did you do that? And what do you find about things? So it becomes more pragmatic, practical, daily activity rather than, well, I have a feel for the market. Well, that's great. You have a feel for the market, but how do I reproduce that? How do I make someone else more successful? Well, you give them a set of filter rules and you give them a tool and you can tinker with it. So it's very powerful.
Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to talk about briefly was future tools that are coming up. And these are not stock option tools. These are some other niches in the trading arena. And some of them will be available to attendees as they attend. Others come available a little bit later, but all of them we're going to let the attendees have access to for 3 months, is my understanding.
Yep.
And so they get a chance to try these tools on other markets.
Absolutely. One of the things about day trading is that it doesn't work for some people in the sense of focus and time. They have a day job. They have whatever it is. They have a day job. They have something going on in their life. And so they can't really, it doesn't fit with their lifestyle. And we know that. But we wanted to make the day trader great first and then get back to the other arena. So people that are what we call trend traders, where you're following a stock and you're looking at it for a bunch of days and you say, hey, this thing's really gone up and I would have liked to have, been involved at this point or this point, and these are daily candles, and just, ride this thing for a few days or a few months, whatever it is for you, and then be able to know about that without having to, again, sit in front of the computer and puzzle it all through. I mean, that's where this project started. 2003 was like, man, where's the good investments, stuff that's going up and it's easy to find, because that didn't exist back then. It was very tough, and it's still hard to find, good ones that are reliable. So the idea of the one tool that we're offering is Trend Trader, where you'll be seeing opportunities for something And you get to hear about that without having to look through the 6,000 stocks and puzzling through, for example, the books. Did you know what the EBITDA is for Amazon? And you go, the what? Well, how how good is this particular stock that you're talking about in making money? What's going on here? And it can be a lot of work, and that's where people would spend hours per week figuring things out. Well, wouldn't it just be simpler if something told me it's a good company? So, for example, I'm just going to look at one. Here's Lear Jets. And you say, well, okay, so here's a chart. I'm looking at weekly charts and monthly charts. So, okay, why would I have gotten into that stock back here? Like, what's going on with it that says it's a good company? We're going to have things that are like this is the quickest analyzer you'll ever find, I think, for looking at the books for a company is the idea that it just paints a chart for you. And I just put that on the screen for you here. And you don't have to do all the computational stuff to say, well, can we just look at the quarterly statistics? It says, well, by the way, it's given this thing a rank of, 3 to 6, 6 being like the best it can get. So that's that kind of thinking. And so we did that, but that wasn't actually easy enough, even though in a heartbeat, I can tell you that this is a good company or bad company, for example. Let's go look at some other random thing and say, well, how's that? Okay, there's nothing there. How about this? No data. How about this one? Oh, look, I got some data. Oh, and you gave me low bars, 1, 2, and 3. I don't even want to look at that. You don't have to. That's where the short list has done some of this work to say, well, what are all these things? Is it a good business? Is it a good growth company? And this is the kind of things that investors, again, personality, are you interested in something that has a long-term growth? Or is it a good business that it makes money? As you notice, there's some stocks that are speculative where, we're buying it because we think it's going to hit, $1,000 a share in, 2 years or whatever it is. Then that's a speculative. The business isn't even making money, but we want to, get involved with the thing because we just want that rise. And so, like, Tesla's a company that people are familiar with, but they're losing money every month. They're still not a good business. They're making success and they're making new products and tools, but they're losing money. So they're a speculative growth company, but they're not maybe a good every month I'm going to get money. Like Coca-Cola, for example, and McDonald's. These are companies that they may not grow in their share value, but they may, but they're making good money. It's like in this green bit here, they're making money every quarter. They're making money. They're not losing money. You don't have to worry about McDonald's stock, dropping to zero. It's not going to happen. Well, if you had a choice between 50 stocks, well, which one is the better one to get? That's a lot of work. And even with this, it's a lot of work. So we're simplifying all that to say, hey, we're going to put alerts out to you. And that's what the heart of the trend trader is that it's doing all the work for you. And the fellow that's, the chief strategist for that, he was a CFP, a certified financial planner, and he's making money. He's beating the market during the development stages of it. He was beating the market quite nicely, outperforming the mutual funds with the tools at the time. So we're pretty excited about that. So that's the trend trader. That's for investing in the stock market. The other ones that we're looking at, and we've got the hard part figured out, is that there's a thing called currencies, and then there's futures, and futures are commodities like gold. We all know that gold goes up and down and what it's done lately. But there's times where some of those things like silver, gold, an index on a market like Hong Kong. Remember when that was, falling apart a while ago? I know people that made many thousands of dollars on the falling of the Hong Kong stock market. They did really well. And that's called a future or a commodity. And the stock market for index for the US market, that's, what's called SPY generally, the S&P 500. Well, that's traded 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And that's the thing about these commodities, these futures, is they're traded all the time. Well, you're not going to want to get signals, at 2 o'clock in the morning that says, hey, there's something here. So what we're doing is we're taking our day trader technology and using it in other areas so that you can get the signal if you want. But in some cases, we're going to offer this as what's called a managed service. So we say, hey, I know you don't want to be up at all hours of the day minding the market. We're going to do it for you. We'll do what's called a profit sharing with you. And there's a, there's a full prospectus coming on how all that works. But in the first 3 months, we're going to send you the signals so that you can see that we're being honest. We say, get in here, get out there. That was a profit. That was a small loss. You get to see all that. So people that attend the conference are going to be getting those signals. And so that system should be available sometime during the year. And so whenever we're rolling it out, you get 3 months of that for free just because you attended. And the trend trader is the same thing. You're going to get a few months of that when it's fully ready so that you can say, hey, it's costing me nothing to look at this thing. And you can use it to make money, but you have to know the people behind creating this thing are using it to make money. So it's up to you what you want to do, but you get to inspect all that stuff before you go ahead with it. So there's some other things that we're going to reveal also at the event that will be available throughout the next 12 months, and you get to play with them. And so we're actually planning on being a full spectrum trading and investing system. So you're going to have day trading, trend trading, which is monthly, weekly kind of view on stocks and or options. There is futures, and there's different kinds of futures that we're looking at. So that also would include currencies, and that's called the Forex market for short. And, one other thing that we'll talk about later, but the idea is that you may not like something. You may not want to be involved with doing the work of uh, managing the trading. We have something for you then.
Cool. All right. So, shall we do an overview of the schedule and the dates?
Sure. Now I'm going to change the schedule a little bit in the sense of what class gets presented,
Okay.
but the ballpark, and I have the page right here if you want.
Yeah. Why don't you bring up the page?
We'll do it that way. I know that guy. There's this other guy down here. Good picture. So we'll leave it right there. Yeah, schedule. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Good. All right. So, Alan, let's talk a little bit about what everyone can expect at the workshop. It's in Cancun, Mexico, February 12th to 17th, I think are the dates.
Hmm.
Did I get those right?
It'll be people land on the 10th or 11th, but yeah, it's the 12th to the 16th are the training days.
Yeah, the training days are the 12th to the 17th. Okay, so let me say that again. Alan, let's do a quick overview of what everyone can expect when they come to the workshop. It's February 12th to 17th. Those are the working days of the workshop. Obviously, people are welcome to come early or stay late and enjoy the beautiful scenery and weather of Cancun in February, which is much nicer than Canada in February. Doesn't matter where in Canada you are.
Or East Coast USA.
Balmy.
That's the cold.
That's right. Balmy in Canada is -10. And the weather, I've been actually, last time I was in Cancun, I believe was February, and it was just perfect weather. Just really enjoyed it.
Makes you want to know, why do you live here? Well, I know you don't anymore, but it's the question I used to ask myself. And why am I here? Because my job.
So yeah, that's right. That's right. You got to be somewhere. So what can people expect?
Well, we're doing a full blend. It's immersive. That's the best way to learn. And part of the immersive is in the mornings, we're going to look at the live market. The market at that time, and that location opens at 8:30 a.m. We're going to have different coaches leading the session as well as me. We're going to see trading happening, like opportunities for trading. Why is this good and why is that not good? And what's my filter rules? So each coach is going to bring up their filter rules. So it's going to be relaxed in the sense of it's a walkthrough. You guys are basically riding along what the coach would do when he's trading. And then that's going to be the first 90 minutes, looking at this and looking at that. And so you get immersed in the filter rules and some hands-on coaching. Then after that, we're going to take a short little break. Then we're going to review the morning and say, well, okay, teach me about what you walked me through. Show me and tell me. And then we'll do that until lunchtime. Then there's lunch. We're going to maybe make it short if we can, 45 minutes or an hour. And then we get back to it. So you get to clear your mind. And then now comes the mindset side. And mindset is very, very important. It's actually the reason people don't succeed. Or, you got bad tools and you don't know that your tools are just mediocre. You just try to make them work. But mindset is like, well, what are you doing and why are you doing it? And the failure points for most people, and this has been true for more than 100 years. If you look at the tulip bubble or the gold rush from 1870s and all these things that people did, and some people made money and some people lost. Why? Mindset. What didn't you know that you didn't even know you didn't know? It's like that kind of level. And what bad habits people have. And you will find when you trade that you will have a bad habit, at least one. And you go, damn, why do I keep doing that? That's mindset. And it's very hard for people to fix that on their own. This is where we are in a guided process going to talk about a topic about being human and trading and what people do normally and why they do that. So it's not like complicated psychology. It's presented in a very simple, pragmatic way where you go, oh, I didn't know. And well, how do you fix that? How do you stop a bad habit? When then we talk about that. And that's what the real power of the being in Cancun is it's immersive as one, meeting other people. Yes, you're getting all the technical upgrades, but the most powerful, in my view, is the mindset thing and being immersed in that to say, hey, I have this one bad habit and I keep doing it and I can't break it. And it's about trading. How do I do that? There's that's when you get to actually talk to other people and you're getting the guided classes that say, hey, and this is why they're called master classes, because you are mastering trading. You are going to get rid of the bad habit that you just can't seem to get rid of on your own. And Scott, you're familiar with some of those bad habits.
Yes, I sure am.
So one of them is getting into trade too late. That used to be my bad habit. And there's a reason why I do that. And there's a really good reason why I shouldn't get into that. I know other people I've coached with their bad habit is a different one. It's that they hang on way past when it was a good time to leave because they have their thoughts. And there's usually only two thoughts that they have about that. One of them is, well, it could go to infinity and I'm missing out on profit. But that's a mindset. And it gets cured with immersing in why you do it and why you shouldn't do it. And then into, well, how do I stop myself in a hands-on practical way? Oh, so if I do this, then I probably won't be even leaning towards my old bad habit because I have this other thing that will keep me away from my automatic, because that's what they are, my automatic leaning to just go do that. And you didn't put those in your brain. This is just part of being human, living on this planet and the way we're raised. And it's not like the parents or society's bad. They're just not training you to be a trader professionally and successfully. They're coaching you with other things in their mind about what they want you to achieve in life. So here, this is like, okay, whatever the world gave you, that's that. We're talking about being successful as a trader from the tools plus mindset. Never, never do this, and here's why. And here's how you can stop yourself from doing that bad habit.
Awesome. And then we end the day with a Q&A session where everybody can ask any questions that they want. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll all the coaches will be there to help.
Yeah, and there is a workbook, and we'll have that printed out. And with advanced learning techniques, they've learned this, 30 years ago, but we're using them, of course, is to say you need to take notes, and it is the process of writing the notes that help you embed your learning. And that's why there's a workbook, and yeah, you get a pen and all that stuff. And then what happens is you get to review at the end of the day, and that's where questions and answers from other people. It's amazing the kind of insights you'll get from somebody else that they say, I used to do this and now I really got it today. Thank you about this. And then they'll say something which is the key to unlocking it. Well, the most important thing is to write that key in your book, because that's your key for your, habits that you want to get rid of on trading, or some skill that you want to improve on. You go, that was a great insight, which you'd never get at home. It's just not going to happen. Even with one-on-one coaching, you're going to get some of that, but it's not going to be nearly as powerful as somebody says, I used to always do this and I never thought I was greedy. And then I realized I was greedy because I'm doing da 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 da. And it's like, oh, I get it finally. And so then that just falls away instantly. But the idea of the workbook is write that down. That's your cement. It just carve that in cement so that you get that anchored in there, and you go, a month from now, you say, what was that thing that that person said? And it's not about being a scribe that you have to write everything down. There's just like maybe 5 or 10 things that are going to be real great insights for you. So you have a workbook, you put it in the workbook, and at the end of the day, when people are, questions and answers, you're going to get some surprisingly useful thing in there. And that's pretty much the day. But because it's Mexico and because it's a vacation blended with some training, at 4 o'clock, we're done. Market opens 8:30. We're going to be opening the room at 8 o'clock, but yeah, you have lunch and breaks. But at 4 o'clock, we're done. That means you can spend time with your spouse, your friends, your new friends, the coaches, whatever it is you want to do. You are now doing your vacation. And there's reasons why we're blending vacation with training. Yes, it's a good tax write-off. It really is. But the other part is you're now blending a prosperous life together. You're enjoying life, and you're mixing it with your trading and learning and mindset. And then it becomes a powerful blend of, well, I really like this lifestyle. What else do I need to do to make sure that that is my lifestyle? Enjoying, you know, uh, nice food and good friends, and I'm in charge of my schedule, and I'm enjoying my day, and I'm learning a few things that'll help me make money, and I'm not stressed. I'm just really, living the fabulous life. So that's the key point about why this conference. And yes, the schedule includes time for your spouses. Spouses are welcome. They're invited into the room, because I want them to know what you do, because they may just go, well, I don't know what he does and can't talk about it, or she does this trading thing, and I'm a chef, and it's like, I don't know. It's like, well, here, you get to sit here and find out, and you can support each other that way, because you can see how the dream is coming true. So some spouses will join in and do that. There's a father and son coming, and they want to do trading together. I mean, that's awesome. It's such a great thing, and they're both going to be good at it, because they're smart people, and they know how to follow things. Like, if I say, hey, there's some tools here to use, and figure out which one of these you like best, they'll do that. But that's the thing about it's a workspace. It's immersive. You're focusing on this one thing. People go to school, university, and whatnot, and they spend months, years learning stuff, and then we think, oh well, we don't have to go do this immersive event, but you do it everywhere else. Well, so anyways, that's the schedule. It's easy. It's going to be focused. It'll be fun, and you're going to meet a lot of great people that will be potentially friends for life, because they'll be supporting you in your success, and you support them in their success. Great environment.
And the goal for everybody who comes is to leave being a far more effective, confident, and successful trader than when they arrived.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so what we wanted to do was just show you some of the opportunities that exist most days in options. So this was a trade that one of our traders did. We'll probably stay in and run a little bit longer than she did, just to show you, the full potential. I'm not saying that you should, it's not really realistic to expect that you'll get in at the first candle and get out at the last candle, because you never know which the first one is and which the last one is. But it's kind of nice to know that you could get a significant chunk of that pie. So this was Netflix. What day was it, Alan?
Thursday, December 28th, 2017.
So in the Christmas New Year's rush when nothing is supposed to be happening.
Hmm.
All right, so let's go and see what happened.
Yeah, so she actually bought it here, and she thought she might want to buy it here, but anyway, she definitely got in here. And I'm just moving forward 1 minute at a time. So I've moved forward 3 minutes, four. So there was the 10%, and she decided I'm going to just take that and leave. And later on, she was talking to me. She says, "Well, I don't know why I left actually, because there was nothing in this trade that says leave." And watched it, and I'm just going to move forward here quickly. So this is like many minutes. So per the rules that she uses, there's this green tint back here that says stay in. You're above the line. You're nowhere near a loss. At this point, you're at 30%. And you go, well, it's hitting this RB line. Maybe I should leave. And it's like, yeah, you could. And then it kept going. It's like, well, why did I get out? And that's actually a great question. So it gets up to 50% profit. That's a good time to leave, if you like. You can get out of all of it or get out of some of it. And so I'm just going to go forward some more. And you go, well, what if I hung on because I'm not anywhere near a loss? It's not dipping down deep here. It just dipped for a little bit, and it looks like it's still going. It's like, well, should I get out of this other line? It's like, well, it's still moving your way generally. And yeah, it's a little haphazard up and down, but you're at 60% profit at this point. And you're going to go, man, why did I get out? So, here at this point, it's like 95% profit, and it hits this other line. And we do in our, videos and coaching, we say, hey, if you've breached two of these target prices, you're probably not going to get much further than the third. The stock's moved 152% of its normal range. Isn't that a good time? You've made 90% profit. But you see, this is all about personality. So getting out here at 10%, hey, you banked 10%. Good for you. But what happens over time is you learn how to master things, and you may get out of some of it at 10%. So you reduce your risk and you banked your profit. But how do you know when to get out here? Well, that would have been 60%. Here's like 95% profit. These things are all available for people, but it's all about, getting better and better at it. I've noticed that, if I get better and better at my day job when in those days, I might get a 5% raise at the end of the year. you know, if I get better and better at this, you're seeing a 200 to 400% increase in your profit. Because, for example, if you made 10% and then you learn how to make 30% just by working with it and working with it, well, you've just tripled how well you do. And then you get to reinvest that money. When you reinvest it, well, now that new money's working for you as well. So you're getting another increase. I know a person that turned $30,000 into $400,000 this last year by reinvesting, and they didn't work harder. They're just getting better and smarter at their trading. So, what's the problem? There is no problem. It's just, the tool is here. Are you going to give it the attention? Do you know everything you need to know? Are you talking to other team members and coaches and things like that? Are you being involved? Or is it, sort of like kind of maybe sort of involved? The people that make the big money.
So, Alan, did it continue to go up, or what happened?
Let's just see here. I don't think it did. Oh, but it did. My God. So there's the peak right there. 200 and some percent. range of its normal range.
131% profit.
Yeah,
Nice.
and these
And then
things
this is
do
not a
happen.
normal day. Yeah, it's not, but
Uh,
that's right. This is not a normal day, but you
no,
don't experience this if you're not playing the game.
yeah, and there are usually one or two stocks every day that do one of these things. Sometimes there's more than one of those per day. So they do happen. It's just really which stock was it on this day? In this case, it was this one. And there's clues for knowing that it was this one. I mean, she got in because she has her filter rules and it said, hey, look, that thing looks like a winner. But there's lots of stocks that have big moves. So to have a big move, there's days that are small moves and are flat and do nothing. So of course, you learn how to not get involved with those ones because they're boring. So for example, this one right here did nothing. Well, did it get outside the risk zone? Did it have big volume? No, none of that. So you wouldn't even look at it. It's like nothing's gonna happen here. So some days there's lots of big ones. Some days there's one or two. There's a few days in a month where nothing big happens, but it becomes obvious with a bit of experience. You just go, well, how do I spot a big one? It's not that complicated.
Mm-hmm. And if you're consistently making 10% in 10 minutes,
That's a good thing. That's such a good
that's a
thing.
good thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I think of it as your regular paycheck and your bonus, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You get the bonus every once in a while, but every day you get your 10%, you'd be happy.
Very happy. So, like here, this is one of those 10 percenters, and you'll learn why it was a 10 percenter. Oh, and it had another, one there and another one there. And it's like, well, how did you know? Exactly. It's not that complicated. You just have to work with it a bit.
All right, it's the last day of the year. We're taking a look at Amazon, and we're going to see if we can't, this is of course using the replay, but see
Yep.
if we couldn't have made a little bit of money with it. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, there's going to be something here. You can see I got a little marker on my filter rule. You can also see that the market is leaning down for the day. There's the business of, the basket it's below the line. It's not doing great. But there's a marker that says, hey, it fits my rules. Maybe I should go look at it. So I'm just going to move forward and say, well, keep an eye on that stock. Oh, nothing happened. But here, it looks like it's going to break the low. Here it looks like it's going to break the low for the day, and that's why I'm keeping an eye on it. And there it is. I got markers. And let's just back up to the point where it's looks like a really good trade. So we're going to hit the old buy put button, and we're going to look at the volume for the day and say, well, it's not that fabulous volume, but it looks like it's going to be a good trade. Looking at the daily and the other things, you can figure that out. So we just bought that a little bit early. This is now the low of it's getting the low closing of the day. This thing's starting to charge down. I've got two kinds of tint. The market isn't fighting me. This stock wants to go down. The market is leaning red, but it's not crushingly red. So this looks like it might be a good short trade. So I got into it. And it's like, well, it's still a good trade, still a good trade. I'm moving forward quite quickly, a minute at a time. I'm at 11%. The market's starting now to follow me, which is good. You get this red star here, which is another one of those clues. You go, well, is it time to leave? No. Touch that. Is it time to leave? Maybe. Aren't you glad you stayed? So at this point, it looks like it still has a bunch of life left in it. It hasn't hit its 100% range for the day, but it looks like it still has life. The market is still reasonably reddish. So you could have got out here and made your 15%. I still like it. That's me. This is about looking at trades and thinking, you see it's hanging to the bottom. It's not running away from it, which means there's still more sellers than buyers. So, well, I could hang in on that. And this is personality. You're making your 10 or 15%, that's a really good thing. But my experience says that this thing has some more life to the bottom. So rather than get in, get out, I just hang in. It's not costing me money. I'm still in profit. This is about your comfort level. Well, now it's 26%. Now I'm loving it, 29%. This is when it's like getting to 100% of its daily range. Is it going to end here? Deep in profit. There's not like a reason for me to leave, like, unless I just wanted the short profit. But this day is leaning red, and this stock is definitely running red. I can hang in. This is about comfort. When people begin, they go, "Oh, I don't know," and I don't want to lose money. It's like, "Yep, I got you." So follow your rules, whatever the rules are, change them over time, and decide. Well, is this still good? Well, there's 26% profit sitting here. I could just get out and take it. Yes, you could. This is personality. Oh, now it's 36. Oh, and you can see the markers are here. So if I was looking at something else, it would have told me that this fits my rules. Now I'm at 48%. Now I have a personal rule that says if ever I get 50%, I'll just take it. That's me. So 46, at this point, at the bottom, that would have made my 50%. Well, now at 52%, and it's touching this line here. So I'm expecting some resistance there. And it did, it bounced. But this is the thing about it is that you can learn and craft it to fit your rules. What's your personality? And people think, well, personality doesn't apply. It absolutely does. But back there again, and it fought it before, I would definitely get out if I didn't already get out because it's having trouble breaking that. Somebody else would have said, well, look at that. I would have made money that you didn't, Alan. And I'm like, yeah, good, fabulous. And so that's the end of the day, and there's nothing left.
Pretty nice. Well, so that shows you another rule. Watch for when the day's over.
Yeah.
You're watching that and you're like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, oops, there's the bell. Can't trade.
Got to get out.
And that's the beauty of day trading, of course, is the fact that you can sleep at night knowing that you don't have to worry about someone manipulating the market while you're snoozing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all out. Awesome. Okay, so I think we covered all the topics I wanted to talk about.